So first of all, thanks very much for joining us tonight on this Hockey Fives webinar. My name's Ben Seckel. I'm a GM of Events and Commercial at Hockey Vic, and Josh May, who's one of our competitions coordinators, joining you on the call. Josh will be the umpire manager for the under-12 JSC Hockey Fives, and then I'll be involved in the under-12s as well, more from a management of the tournament perspective, but we'll be running tonight's presentation. Before we get underway, I just want to do an acknowledgement of country. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we're gathered this evening, pay my respects to their elders past and present, and to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people on the call. So to give you a bit of an overview of what we're going to do tonight. So this presentation with the rule differences between Hockey Fives and 11-a-sides on the Hockey Vic website. We've sent it out to zone coordinators previously, and we'll make the presentation, not just recording, available again on the website over the next 48 hours. We're going to run through some of the key rule differences for you. It's not going to provide specific tactical or technical coaching advice. It won't from an umpiring perspective either. Before the JSC, we'll have an umpire briefing that anyone that's involved in umpiring the JSC will attend, where we'll provide a bit more specific advice around positioning, etc. But tonight's just highlighting key rule differences. We'll watch one or two clips, give you an opportunity to ask some questions, and raise a few things that we think are worth noting. To give you a bit of an overview, you're probably aware by now, but Hockey Fives is the official FIH format of the game. So there's the 11-a-side indoor hockey and Hockey Fives. There'll be the first World Cup in 2024. Australia's recently held a selection camp and picked a team for some qualifiers. And it's very much an emerging format of the game. In Victoria, we're really jumping on the front foot with it. So we have some regional associations that have been running it up in Shepparton and Warrnambool, particularly for their juniors over the last term or so. For the JSC under-12s, we're running it this year for the very first time. And as far as we know, we're the first state body to run a mass participation event like the JSC. And then certainly we've got a couple of regional associations and some activity happening out at Caroline Springs as well in the Hockey Five space. So tonight we'll try not to be too JSC specific. There's one or two slides that'll give you a bit of an overview to show you how we'll set the pitches up, but we'll try and keep it as general as possible. If you do have specific JSC related questions, Josh and I can stick around at the end. I'm happy to answer them, or you're more than welcome to send them through to either of us and we can help you out. Before we get underway as well, I think it's worth pointing out that we're all still learning here. So this is the first Hockey Fives tournament that we have run as Hockey Vic. For Josh, it's the first tournament he's umpire managed in a Hockey Five space. Obviously got a lot of 11-a-side and indoor background, but we are still learning, just as the teams that are playing regionally and at the JSC are. So we might not be able to answer all your questions tonight. We'll go away and ask people that have had a bit more experience in this space, but there are limited resources. We're doing our best over the next sort of 6 to 12 months to pull together as much as we possibly can. So for next year's JSC, we're in a better position to provide more resources. One other thing I just wanted to point out, that with the JSC, the only sort of rule modifications at this stage we've made are that we're playing 2 15-minute halves, so slightly longer. We know that some of the zones have played a couple of practice matches and there's been a few issues around dangerous shots on goal. We're seeking a bit of feedback from the zone coordinators on that, and then we'll consult. In our office, we'll have a chat about it. We'll come back to the zone coordinators before this weekend with any advice we think's necessary to provide them. But just thought we should raise that in case there's anyone on the call that's experienced that on the weekend, and point out that we are aware of it and we're talking about it. All right, that's enough talking from me for now. I'll hand over to Josh.
Perfect. So good evening all. Like Ben said, a bit about me, 11-a-side background as well as indoor. This is my first umpire managing gig for the Fives format. So hopefully I can answer all your questions tonight, and even if it's at a later date. All our rules will be still based off the FIH rulebook, which can be found online as well. Otherwise, we should hopefully cover the majority of stuff here. First things first, just composition of teams. So 5-side hockey fives, 4 field players and a goalkeeper, up to 4 substitutes at any time, with 1 being a goalkeeper. On the interchange bench, we'll go through a little bit more about that, where the bench is a little bit later. All substitutions can occur at any time, which includes a challenge. We'll talk a little bit more about challenges coming up, and they're to take place near the half line, so very similar to an indoor or outdoor event. Field of play, slightly different to probably what we're all used to, a little bit smaller than outdoor, a little bit bigger than indoor. Rebound boards, similar to indoor, but they go all the way around the field, not just on the sidelines, they are also on the baseline. But we use full-size hockey goals. There's no D marking, so no centre circle as such. There's markings at the halfway line, a penalty spot, and there's markings as like a boards and quarter line, I should say. There's some more details on what the field looks like. So going over that, there will be boards on the sideline, as well as baseline, as well as a little bit more measurements for everyone. Oh, I don't know what. This is what we'll be looking like at the JC event in itself. So this is at Footscray with just the way the fields are set up. The red line will be a fence, netting, I should say, just to prevent any balls that end up or do end up going over the boards, that they don't end up on an opposite field, as well as, you know, stop a bit of run and chasing of the ball. And then that will be the Sunday. So I should say this will be our Saturday setup, and then this will be the Sunday.
And Josh, I suppose to provide a tiny bit more context, on Saturday we have under 14 games happening on ASF at Footscray.
Yeah.
So we have to squeeze 3 pitches onto 1 full field pitch, and then on the Sunday we'll move field that was over in the corner across to ASF. That field will be streamed. It provides a little bit more space around the pitches, not so cramped with so many people all on the one field.
Perfect. Scoring goals. A goal must be scored by an attacker who touched the ball inside their attacking half. The shot can't be hit directly towards goal unless it's been moved 4 meters first, or yet again touched by an attacker or either team, as long as it's touched inside the attacking half. That means if there is a free hit, the ball still has to move that 4 meters before it can be considered a legitimate goal shot. A goal shot can be considered dangerous. Now, Ben spoke about that a little bit at the start. We'll provide updates later in the week. The dangerous shot is considered when it's in a 4 meter distance that could cause evasive action or is hitting a player in a dangerous manner. So similar to outdoor, if it hits you above your shin pad, that is considered dangerous. And depending on where the action initiated, so where the shot was initially hit from and the distance you are from when you are hit or take evasive action, that is how it will be judged. Now, we will go further on that with our umpires in the umpire briefing. So they've got a little bit more clarity around it as well. But the main things that we're looking for is if it is causing evasive action or if it leads to danger and it's inside that 4 meters. Now, I know outdoor, we normally run off 5 meters. Indoor, we run off 3 meters. For hockey fives, we run off a 4 meter distance. Just a bit of a clarity for everyone. Free hits. Free hits are awarded when it's an offence by a player between the quarter lines. So in the middle of the field, as per se, an attacker within the quarter line area, they're to opponents are defending. So it's then taken anywhere within the quarter line. So if a free hit occurs close to the goal shot that isn't a intentional offence, it is then taken by the attacker on the quarter line that they're defending, if that makes sense. So it's similar to the outdoor rule, or the old outdoor rule of if you gained a free hit inside the dotted circle, that you would then have to take it back out. It's very similar to that, if that makes sense. If you have any questions, please just yell out. Same thing as outdoor, everyone has to be 4 meters from the free hit when it is taken as well. So that does include defending players as well. So for any free hit, everyone has to be the full 4 meters. All over the sideline boards. So if the ball goes over a sideline board in particular, play is restarted by the player who didn't tip the ball over. So whoever it wasn't last touched by, and it's taken within 1 meter of where the ball crossed the sideline board. So perpendicular with where it went out, just that 1 meter. If it crosses the sideline within the quarter line area and it was last touched by the defender, it's just restarted outside on the quarter line, 1 meter infield. Ball over the baseline. So when the ball's played over the baseline and it's not a goal, if it's played by an attacker, play is restarted with a ball inside the quarter line area by the defending team. If played by a defender, so similar, or a goalkeeper, so similar to outdoor, it's restarted on the centre line in line with where it crossed the baseline, so perpendicular with it. If it's very similar to like indoor and outdoor, indoor is probably the best explanation of if it is that long corner, it then goes up to that half line, and then it still must be played 4 meters before it can be a legitimate goal shot. If a defender or goalkeeper deliberately puts the ball over the baseline, that is still a long corner. Now, I know that's a little bit different to outdoor 11-a-side, where if a defender or goalkeeper deliberately puts the ball over the baseline, it's that penalty corner. In hockey fives, they are allowed to deliberately play it over that baseline, and then it would just restart with that long corner. A challenge. Now, this is the sort of different rule compared to an outdoor and indoor. A challenge is awarded when an offence by a defender within the half of the court they're defending, which prevents a probable goal, or an intentional offence by a defender within the half they're defending against, who's in possession, or is prevented an opportunity to play the ball. The way to think about a challenge is it's very similar to a penalty corner, and as such, the umpiring signal for a challenge is the same as a penalty corner for both indoor and outdoor. Is there any questions on the challenges so far? Oh, okay. This is probably going to be one of the ones that we will take a bit of time to wrap our heads around. It's not something that is very normal, and will take a practice game, or for the ones that have already played, they're quite lucky to be able to play and understand this difference, but it is going to be a little bit challenging to start with if you are very fresh and new to it.
So just confirming on that challenge.
Yes.
So the second part, that the intentional offence.
Yep.
In the half or in the forward quarter?
It's in the half. Yeah, if that makes sense. So so for on at Footscray, we will have, are we going to have chalk on the lines then? Yeah, so we will have a half line chalked out, so then it's easier for coaches, players and umpires to see that half line and then understand if he's in front or behind. That probably makes it the easiest way. Is there any other questions?
How do you tell the difference between something that's preventing a probable goal versus a definite goal, which is a stroke?
Yeah, so it's a tough one. That comes more down to like the umpiring decision. The difference really being umpire's decision. So is the goalkeeper in a distance that they could save the ball, preventing it going to goals? Are they in a legitimate playing area, as in like, are they laying down and the ball is going, to the roof of the net, for example? Like, are they going to actually have a chance of preventing that goal? That's the difference between a probable goal or not. It is a hard one to say, and a lot of the time it does come down to umpires' discretion. If they deem it to be a probable goal or not, that's the best answer I can give you. You'll find examples where you think it is, the umpire might not. It's one of those tough ones. It's a case-by-case scenario.
I've got another question. So if you're thinking of it as similar to a penalty corner, so that includes like, feet, unintentional feet.
Yes.
Within the circle. We don't have a circle, but we have lots of unintentional feet in under 12s.
Yep.
Like how close do you need to be? If it's an unintentional foot, do you just ignore it, or?
I think we had a mark for free hit here. So for an unintentional offence by a defender within the quarter, it's a free hit. It's just taken outside the quarter line area. So the 12s is like a good example for our 11 aside. If you don't think it is a intentional foot and it's just it's hit a foot, it then becomes a free hit back on the quarter line. And this is why like those challenges get a little bit difficult, because if in a regular 11 aside outdoor game it hits a foot inside our circle, that would reward a penalty corner. In hockey fives, that only rewards a free hit taken on that quarter line. If you deem it as like an intentional foot, so whether that's someone dragging their foot along to stop the ball or, stepping on the ball intentionally, that's when we would award a challenge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if that foot stops a probable goal, then it'll be a challenge.
It'll be a challenge, correct.
Even if it's accidental foot.
Correct.
So the unintentional feed is just like a under 12 half field game at the moment.
Exactly.
It just gets taken outside the D and it's just a free hit.
Yeah, and that's
that sort
all
of stuff. Okay.
Unintentional offences.
Yep, perfect.
So things like if it hits their back of the stick, like things like that, we just deem it as that unintentional. If it's the intentional side, so a kid hitting the ball away using his back stick and something that we as umpires would deem it intentional, that's what then would award a challenge, if that makes sense. Any other questions? No, perfect. We'll move on to taking a challenge. This is where all players have to stand on the half line, so similar to an 11-a-side. They can stand anywhere on the halfway line, so it's not like indoor that they have to be moved to either side. They just have to stand on the halfway line. The ball is placed on the quarter line with the player taking the challenge, stands behind the ball. Goalkeeper has to stand with both feet on or behind the line. So that's something for the umpires. You've got to make sure that they are on or behind the line when someone's taking a challenge. A goal cannot be scored unless the ball has been moved 4 meters. So that's where it doesn't become a legitimate goal shot unless it's moved the 4 meters and thus can't be scored. Isaiah, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, so basically this challenge is very similar to like if you go to a penalty shootout at the end, it's very similar to a penalty shootout.
It is very similar. It's got some small differences, which we'll touch on now, but yeah, very similar premise from like a playing perspective. With the shootout and a regular 11-a-side, the ball doesn't have to move a distance. You just have to be in the circle to score. For the hockey fives, it does have to move that 4 meters. So if you do move it 3 meters and score a really good goal,
it won't count.
Yeah, it will not count as a goal. Something that's a little bit different with the challenges is with the attacker, once the ball is played, open play resumes. So that means that as soon as that attacker touches that ball, every player, so both defending and attacking, so either team that were on the halfway can then run and rejoin play. Now, I know that gets a bit hectic, especially in this under 12s format where some of these kids would just be ball focused and go straight to it. They're allowed to do that. There's no rule to say that they can't do that. If the period has ended but a challenge was awarded prior to the end, so this is like the end of the half, the challenge will be taken and it will end when a goal is scored. The ball is touched by a player other than the one taking it or the goalkeeper. Lee, you got a question?
Sorry, I could have waited to the end. When they're starting the challenge and the ball's on the quarter line, is there a set place it can be or can it be anywhere?
Good question. I don't have an answer for you. I don't think in the FIH rules that states it has to be in the centre line, which is what the 11-a-side and indoor does. But that is a good question that we will look to clarify. Let me make a note of that. So then we can look it up and get an answer back to everyone. Challenge halfway. Matt, you had a question as well?
I think that was the same question. Where does the ball, what's any limitations on where the ball can be placed on that quarter line challenge?
Yeah, so my assumption, I'm not 100% certain, would be that it would have to be in the middle of the quarter line, if that makes sense. We will look to clarify that with everyone though. Back to if the half has ended, the challenge will end when a goal is scored, it's touched by another player other than the one taking the challenge or the goalkeeper. So whether that's a defender or another attacker, they are allowed to run as soon as that ball is played, and as soon as they touch it, that is when the challenge is over, and thus the half. The ball goes out of play over the sideline or back line, including if it was intentionally done by the goalkeeper. Like we said a little bit earlier, goalkeepers and defending players are allowed to intentionally put that ball over the baseline, and it would then be re-awarded with a long corner on that half line. There's no time limit for the challenges as well, so it's not that one-on-one shootout. There's no time. It can go for as long as possible, but understanding that once that ball is played by the attacker, it then does become free play that anyone can then go play out. This is a clip from, I don't remember what it was, just some Euro hockey about a challenge and where it's taken and how it looks. As we can see with the chalk place, that's our spot, and then they take it on the quarter line. Moves 4 meters before they can have a goal shot. And as everyone can see in the red and blue, both teams are instantly running back. Can everyone see that video clearly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there any other questions with the challenge?
So just one question on the challenge can continue to go unless those conditions are met, right? That you described before.
Yep.
And so the only benefit of that is, or the only impact of that is that if the game ends or the time ends, that the game continues.
Correct.
Until the challenge ends. That's really the only benefit of having a challenge continue, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And the likelihood that the challenge lasts longer than the 1 to 2 seconds that we've just seen in that clip, although we are under 12s, the likelihood that a defender or an attacker will run back and touch that ball is quite likely, unless the goalkeeper makes a save, puts it over the sideline baseline, or the attacker scores a goal or scores an illegitimate goal, which would reward the free hit and then end the quarter. Penalty strokes, so a little bit different to outdoor, but played in the same manner. The only time you can award a penalty stroke is when the action preventing a certain goal, so that's that certain versus probable that we talked about a little bit earlier. yet again, it's a case by case scenario, so it just depends on what the umpire will deem it as, or a deliberate foul by a goalkeeper during a challenge. So that would be an intentional breakdown or an intentional free hit for the goalkeeper. Now, if that's goalkeeper does an intentional breakdown or intentional offence in regular play in that quarter, that would then reward a challenge, so not a stroke. So for like that outdoor perspective, where if you had a bad tackle or a really bad foot or something like that that wasn't preventing a certain goal, in outdoor that would reward a stroke. In hockey fives, that rewards the challenge first. So then the stroke would then have to come after for the deliberate foul, but only by a goalkeeper, or yet again preventing a certain goal. Same as outdoor 11-a-side, take on that stroke point. Goalkeeper has to have both feet on the line. You can't drag, flick the ball. It has to be one movement, and the attacker has to start in playing distance of the ball. Any questions?
I have just a question over general. Is this whole slideshow available anywhere? Just like kind of a
Good
like
question. Is it online yet, Ben?
Yes, it is on the JSC page of the website. So if you go comps and events and then championship events and then select JSC and you go all the way to the bottom, there's a section that's what is hockey fives, and there's this, a link to FIH resources, a highlights video from a tournament previously. But we'll
so
also
what is
put,
it? Constant events, you said?
Yep. And then can you see championship events?
Yep. Click that.
Yep. And then click JSC. There should be a tile.
Junior state champions.
Yep. That's one. And then you scroll all the way to the bottom of that page and there's a drop down. Like if you click on the what is hockey fives, it opens up and there's a couple of different links there. But this is slightly updated. So we've added like the clip with the challenges and one or two other things. So we'll put the updated version up and the recording within the next 24 to 48 hours.
Got it.
Personal penalties. So this is our cards. A green card results in like a 1 minute suspension, similar to indoor, whilst outdoor 11-a-side is the 2 minutes. But for hockey fives, if a green card is awarded and then a goal is scored during the period of the suspension, the player that received the green card can then return to the field. They don't have to serve the remaining time. So a little bit different to what we're normally used to. It's just to promote a free-flowing game, especially for the regular hockey fives on the regular FIH rules of the 10-minute halves. It becomes a lot more free-flowing, a lot faster. A yellow card will result in either the 2 or 4 minute suspension. For yellow cards, the player does have to serve the full suspension time. They cannot come back if a goal is scored. A red card will result in the suspension for the remainder of the match, may result in further disciplinary action. That will then come down to the tournament director as well as the event director being Ben, and then a little bit on myself as the umpiring manager, but mainly tournament director and event director. For JSC, if a goalkeeper receives a green or a yellow card, a field player can be nominated to serve the suspension. Similar to our regular 11-a-side outdoor, we do require a fully padded goalkeeper at all times, and thus the goalkeeper cannot leave the field. Otherwise, the game will be halted until a fully padded goalkeeper is then on the field. If a goalkeeper does receive a red card, you need to find the TD, myself as the UM, or Ben immediately. Now, we will then decide the course of action there and then, but you do need to find us immediately if that does occur. The likelihood of it occurring, very little, but that is our plan of action. Any questions on any of the cards or personal penalties? Perfect. That's everything from just a quick overview point of the rules and how our game will be played. Is there any other questions, specific, not so specific, about hockey fives or how the JC will run?
Is there like a timetable for when certain different umpires are going to be on?
Yeah. So I'll be creating a roster really soon. So the fixture is out. The roster will be obviously the short games. On average, we're going to try and get everyone 2 to 3 games minimum, maybe 1, just depending on availabilities, but we'll try and get everyone equal opportunity. We're also going to try and get coaching for all umpires on every game as well. So whether it's myself or some other umpire coaches, we'll try and watch you, and then after the game, let you get a drink of water, get in some warm clothes, whatever it may be, and then we'll have a quick chat about the game and see how we can develop your game. Any other questions? Perfect. Well, that's all from me.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining tonight. Josh and I will go away and seek some guidance on the positioning of the ball on the quarter line for challenges, and we'll insert it into this presentation, upload it on that page of the website, and we'll send it out to all zone coordinators so that coaches get that message as well before the JSC. Lee, I can see you've got a question.
Just a bit more. Can you just give a bit more explanation around the dangerous hits?
Yeah, so it'll be any shot. So any shot selection, if deemed as dangerous, will then automatically incur the free hit against. Something that will go back to our umpiring, community for fives, is about repeat dangerous shots and whether that incurs personal penalties. If an umpire does deem specific players to be continuously acting in a dangerous way, that will then incur personal penalties. So things like repeated dangerous shots could and probably will incur personal penalties. Does that answer it a little bit more for you?
Yeah. So if the kid's completely by themselves and they do this, massive big circular swing that either hits the ball or misses the ball, but the ball travels on the ground and isn't dangerous, then that's fine.
There's still a danger aspect in the swing itself, but like you said, if there's no one around, then that's not really creating danger. If there are people around and the ball still is on the ground, but the swing itself is dangerous, then that is still a dangerous shot. Even though the ball isn't dangerous, the swing itself does cause danger.
Yeah, that can be a bit difficult when a kid or an adult, even in normal hockey, is winding up for a shot and someone runs past them or to them or is trying to get the ball.
Yep, you are right. The other aspect is then the legitimate evasive action, and part of our regular outdoor rules as well as hockey fives does distinguish what makes a ball or a swing dangerous. Someone that takes legitimate evasive action is then making an attempt to avoid what is dangerous. For someone that is going in the way, as in playing the ball or attempting to play the ball, lay a tackle that then causes the swing ball to become dangerous, puts themselves in a place of danger, and thus the free hit would then go against them because they're creating the danger, not the person swinging or playing the ball or shooting. Now, I get that that's a hard one, and that's a little bit more case by case as well.
Cool, that was a good explanation. Thank you.
That's right.
And I suppose, Lee, from a JSC perspective, this is a great development opportunity for the kids, and we're not playing for sheep stations, so we'd certainly encourage any coaches to try and build the play up, create some good goals rather than just get to the half line and try and have the kid in the team with the best hits smacking the ball at the goal as hard as they possibly can. Actually teach them how to play. We certainly acknowledge at the moment there's not a lot of resources out from a tactical perspective, but we want to see good hockey where the ball's built up, some nice goals are scored. Remembering that if you shoot low and it hits those boards on the baseline, it stays in play and you get another crack at it. Whereas if you go in the air and miss, it goes over the baseline and the opposition team do get the ball back. So it's a hard one because I know every coach wants to win. And if you've got an opportunity to score shooting, great. But we do want to err on the side of caution with the danger. That's for sure. Any other questions? So as I mentioned at the start, for JSC team managers, we have a briefing before the tournament. We've sent the details to the zone coordinators. It's on the evening, Sunday the 25th, where we'll provide you much more specific information of sort of how you enter the pitch, where the team benches will be, et cetera, et cetera. Tonight was just to try and provide any clarification on some of the different rules and answer any questions you might have. So if there's nothing else, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. And let us know if there's anything we can help you with. We're more than happy to receive an email or a phone call at any time. Thanks, everyone.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
boys.
Thank you.
Thank you.